Ooh, it's Mr.BuyTheDip back here with another video. I want to talk to you guys about NVIDIA and pairing it up with the S&P 500, okay? There's some stocks or some ETFs where you should have a long period of time where you're holding on to, or you should have a long-term stock that you plan on retiring with, right? Or something that's well cushioned and it's going to give you a fair return in the future, okay? I want you to look at the S&P 500. This is basically an ETF that is very reliant. It's a nice way to park your cash if you got 60, 70 grand that you just want somewhere where it can grow, right? You don't want it to just sit in the bank account and you just want it to grow somewhere, okay? Throw it in this ETF. I want you to look at the yearly chart and look at this dip all the way down to 504, low 500s. This was a perfect buying opportunity. If you weren't buying around this time, I don't know what you were doing, right? If we look at the return back, you could have basically went from 496, right? Or averaged down from 570 to like 560, 520, right? You could have get those big buys and you could average down and you would have been up a lot on your money right now. I had an average of about 588 and I bought the stock on, I tried my best to buy it during the dips. As you can see, I bought a few times and I brought my average down. That is the goal. That is the goal if you're any type of investor. Now, let's talk about NVIDIA and why it's a good stock, but also paired up with a ETF like VOO, QQQM, and having a well-balanced portfolio strategy, okay? The core holding is 70 to 80% in ETF. Now, I'm saying 70, 80% in ETFs just mainly because, mainly because if you're somebody who is planning to retire or planning to have safe income, you should focus on ETFs. But if you're younger, you got more cash coming in the next 8 years, right? Invest in something like NVIDIA, invest in something like Apple, Microsoft, right? Heavily, but also keep that QQQM, S&P 500 ETF on the side, right? It doesn't get better than this. Look at the all-time, this all-time chart for S&P 500. The biggest dip we had was after 5 years ago, around 2020. If you would have put 40, 50K right here in 2020, right? And you just let it grow, you can see how much you would have made back on each share by now. This is went all the way up to 600. So if you can do some of the math there and you can put this, put this in the back of your head that every investment you make does not have to be, a short-term, quick, you're trying to get quick money. What are you doing in the long term, right? Eventually, you need to start planning about 10 years from now, 8 years from now. How financially are you going to be stable, okay? The reason why I sold NVIDIA was because my positioning wasn't the best. This is way too volatile, right? It can go up 10%, come down 10%, okay? But why is it a good stock? It's AI leader, explosive growth, and strong moat, okay? A moat is basically something that keeps the business running. For example, Walmart, their moat is affordable prices, right? And they have a lot of locations, so they're very lenient, and then their future focus, high-tech chip, right, designs and dominance in AI make it hard for competitors to catch up. They're just so far ahead. That is the moat for AI and NVIDIA chips. NVIDIA chips are so far ahead that their competitors can't keep up, right? You got AMD will try to keep up. No, it'll get knocked right back down, right? You got another companies that'll try to implement something with AI and they'll get knocked right back down, which is, which is, I don't want to say which is not fair, but it kind of just sets the tone because NVIDIA, the way NVIDIA dominates the database section, dominates the gaming section, right? It just makes sense. It just makes sense the way the stock just performs. Every earnings, they're doing great on earnings. You look at their income sheet, they've got money they could just burn away. Like, it just makes sense why the stock runs up, right? But this one small news can knock the stock down. Okay, now why is that? Let's look at this stock right here, Nokia, right? This used to be what? $25 stock, $24 stock, right? Who do you see with the Nokia phone these days? Right? Nobody. You see Apple, Samsung, right? You see phones like this. So when your competitor offers a better product, especially in the tech industry, in the AI industry, hardware, equipment, whatever, right? Technology-based industry. What is going to happen to your product? What is going to have? Huge sell-offs. There's going to be fear that the product is done for, and that's exactly what happened to Nokia, right? And that's the fear with NVIDIA, and that's the fear with a lot of big AI stocks, that how long is AI going to stay relevant? Okay, so keep that in mind when you're buying and selling stocks. Now, diversification is very important. So S&P 500 includes a lot of a lot of different sectors, which is also important, right? If you match those in, you have a good balanced portfolio that's going to give you a well return. Okay, NVIDIA is already in the index, so buying the S&P 500, you're already basically buying NVIDIA. Here's what I'm trying to say, that when you're buying S&P 500, you're technically investing in a lot of companies just averaged down. Okay, the QQM, however, is more tech focused. So if you're younger, you want to dump more money into that, makes sense, right? Tech is more volatile. You're going to get more money back in return overall. So that is my video today. NVIDIA and an ETF, or one stock in an ETF. You need to be able to understand the importance of having a balanced portfolio, right? So if you have 3 stocks, NVIDIA, Apple, Walmart, right, whatever 3 stocks, different industries, and you match them up with 2 or 1 good ETF, that's all you need, right? And that's what it takes to make a lot of money in these type of markets. Okay, so strong explosive growth, up and down. NVIDIA can have explosive growth up and down, but the thing is, if you're focused too much on the downside, you're not going to make money, right? However, if you're too greedy, you're not going to make money. So I got in, I got out, right? I was out last week right here. I was up about 5%. I got out. I didn't have the best position. I realized that, and I got out. So keep that in mind, guys.